Listen, there's a small piece of street theatre that I want to tell you guys about. I realized I forgot to tell you guys about it in the last video. But basically, I was coming out of Black Brighton Market. There was a person there who seemed really, really upset and they wanted to speak to someone. And they were basically saying that, you know, they were bipolar, and every time they had a premonition, it set off their bipolar stuff. Now, I didn't want to make assumptions, right? I didn't want to make assumptions, but it seemed to me that when it comes to this level of street theatre, it seems like it's pointed, because this isn't the first time it's happened. One of the first times I recognized it was happening was when I was in Roundwood Park and there was this white guy just ranting to himself out loud in public, because I used to talk to myself a lot. And I didn't realize it was street theatre at the time. I thought this guy was just going through a lot. I just thought he was just, you know, suffering, and I really hated to see it. But like, now that I think about it, it could have been street theatre. The second time it happened, the second time I noted it happened was when I was, how do I put this? The second time I noted it was when I was on a bus in Willesden Green, where I used to live. I used to live in Willesden Green. And there was this woman who came up to me. She was dressed in a white jacket, glasses, and she looked a bit shaky. I can't remember if this was before or after I was sectioned, or sometime before or after I was sectioned, but she talked about being injected and, you know, going back to Harlesden, because that was like my childhood home and where I used to live, right? She was talking about going back to Harlesden or being injected and living on her own and living in her own flat, and I'm like, okay, yeah, knew that was pointed. And then when it came to Cricklewood, there was this homeless woman with some bags in her hand. Like, she was homeless and she carried multiple bags in her hand. And you know, I looked at her and I really felt for her, you know. And I think that was staged as well. So that's what made me think that it was pointed street theatre, because all these things are, you know, they have similarities to me in some way. This isn't coincidence. This is not synchronicity. This is street theatre, okay? Because in all these situations, there are similarities to me. And this person outside Black Brighton Market was no different, because they were talking about being bipolar and having, you know, premonitions and stuff like that. Now, the thing that I know about street theatre, right, is that it's complicated because it's not always deliberate on the part of the person doing it. And what I mean by that is sometimes they're told to do it. Sometimes it can be behavioral control. And especially if these people are mentally ill, sometimes it can be behavioral control, and so it can be something that they're unaware of that they're doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why I say, with this street theatre, you don't always know, but you do know that gang stalking is behind it, because the type of technology that gang stalking works with, remember, a lot of people are chipped, and psychotropic weapons are used. Psychotropic frequencies can influence and affect people's behavior very fucking easily. V2K can easily be used to you know, affect people's behavior. People can be hypnotized with it. I mean, to be honest, if you've got V2K to the point where you can synthetically, you know, communicate with the person using their frequencies, then there's nothing that you can't do with that. So when it comes to street theatre, I make sure I'm very, very careful not to say this person's doing it deliberately, because they might not be doing it deliberately. But one thing that is for sure is that gang stalking is usually behind it. Gang stalking is usually behind it. If they're doing street theatre on that level, they're trying to influence you towards a certain behaviour. Like I said before, the first guy talking to himself out loud, I did that. Second was the woman being sectioned, but I can't tell whether it was before I was sectioned or after I was sectioned. And then the third woman being homeless, carrying lots of bags, I did that when I first came to Brighton. And now with this fourth person being kicked out of a particular area, because they had a full-on mental breakdown, and they were doing social media promotion like I'm doing with my tarot readings right now. Again, all these similarities are being used to subconsciously affect a person's behavior, because the thing is, even when you don't pick everything up with your conscious mind, your subconscious picks everything the fuck up. And that's one thing that the gang stalkers know, and that the gang stalkers realized. So they will perform the street theater, or have vulnerable people performing street theater, possibly controlled to do so, because a lot of vulnerable people can be controlled. If your mind ain't already all the way there, it can be very easy for the gang stalkers to hide behind that to control you. When you're a child, when you're mentally ill, when you got something wrong with you, your vulnerabilities can and will be used against you through psychotropic weaponry and through weaponized frequencies. So that's why I try to avoid saying like these people are doing it on purpose, because they might not be. Do you understand what I'm saying? But the street theater is definitely gang stalking. One way or another, it's there to try to affect your behavior. It's there to try to subconsciously influence what you do from then on. So clearly, they wanted me to continue to talk out loud at one point, and at another point they wanted me to be sectioned, or they wanted the fear of that within me to manifest something or to set something in motion. So it's like, that's what they do with the street theater. They try to provoke your fear. They try to provoke your, they try to provoke your fear. They try to provoke, your anxiety about certain things. But this is the thing, when you get to recognizing that behavior, and you get to recognizing that type of street theater, it stops affecting you as much, because then you realize where it comes from. Like I said, gang stalking is all about weaponizing what you are at every single turn, turning your good things into bad things, turning your bad things into worse things, weaponizing that against you through conversation, through psychological harassment, even through electronic torture. Whatever it is that you're anxious about, and you're in fear about, or ashamed about, or guilty about, or grieving over, they will find ways to try to make you miserable with it, so they can break your spirit and break you down and make you into an effective, make you into an effective asset for them, right? That's what it's all about. So that was the point of this street theater. And like I said before, with regards to these people trying to harass me yesterday with like stuff that I already do, that was done on Saturday too. I'm not going to say by who, but that was done on Saturday as well. That was done, when I was minding my business. So I'm not gonna, name names or anything like that. But street theater, when you're a targeted individual, is part of your everyday life. And again, it's used to affect your behavior. It's one of those things where they mimic your walk, and then, say they're in front of you and they mimic your walk, and then they act like they're going to fall over, but they don't. It causes you to fall over. That's the point of this street theater shit, is to affect your behavior. Is to mimic you, and by mimicking you, affecting your behavior with it. That's the reason why they try to copy what you do or weaponize what you do. That's another reason. That's another form of mind control. That's another form of behavioral control. Yeah. So, yeah, none of that surprises me. It's just about turning everything about you into a bad thing. Everything about you into something that they can weaponize to make you upset and to break down your spirit. And that's it. That's it. That's all. So I came online to talk to you guys about that. Now I'm gonna go. Now I gotta go. Like I said, my intuition always tells me, keep going, keep going. I'm like, why? You know what I mean? But yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about that, to basically give an example of what street theater is and how it works, and why it's not as easy as saying, that everybody's doing it on purpose, because sometimes it doesn't work out like that. It's way more complicated than that. Remember, we've got billions of dollars worth of weapons and worth of technology is being used on God knows how many people globally. So yeah, it's not as simple as saying, oh, somebody's fucking with you on purpose. It's not as easy as that. Do you understand what I mean? So anyway, I gotta go. And if you've made it this far, once again, as a TI, let me know how you guys are doing. I love you guys so much. Peace and blessings. Bye bye.